everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Bhavna. I'm founder of the Inspirited Life Cow, and on this channel, we spend more time exploring leadership, lifestyle, and personal growth through reflection, awareness, and real life experience. This space is really about slowing down, just enough to think more clearly about how we live, how we work with people, and how we lead ourselves through different stages of life. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever reacted to something in a moment and only later realized that you could have handled it very differently? Perhaps someone said something in a meeting that irritated you more than you expected. Maybe you received a message that felt abrupt and you replied quickly, only to think later that you should have paused. Or perhaps a simple conversation suddenly became emotional without you quite understanding why. Most of us have experienced moments like this. In the moment, the reaction feels almost automatic, as if the response appears before we have really had time to think. Then later, when things settle down, reflection begins. You replay the conversation in your mind and think to yourself, I should have paused. I should have listened more carefully. I could have responded carefully and differently. That small space between what happens and how we respond is where emotional intelligence begins. Now, emotional intelligence is one of those terms that appears frequently in leadership discussions and personal development conversations, but very often is misunderstood. Many people assume it means controlling emotions or staying calm all the time. In reality, it is something far more practical and far more human than that. Emotional intelligence is simply the ability to recognize and understand emotions, both in ourselves and in the people around us, and then respond in a way that is thoughtful rather than reactive. It shapes how we communicate, how we deal with pressure, how we respond to criticism, and how we build relationships. Over the years, I have come to appreciate how important this ability really is, especially when working with people. Throughout my professional life, I have worked in environments where people from many different backgrounds come together. Different cultures, different age groups, different perspectives, different experiences. When you spend years working with people in such diverse settings, you begin to notice something quite quickly. People interpret situations very differently. What motivates one person may frustrate another. What feels like constructive feedback to one individual may feel uncomfortable or even discouraging to someone else. And more recently, working with younger professionals entering the workplace, particularly the Gen Z colleagues, has made this even more clearer. Younger generations often bring fresh perspectives and creativity, but they are also navigating complex emotional pressures that earlier generations may not have spoken about openly. Conversations around expectations, feedback, confidence, and emotional reactions come up frequently. In many of those conversations, I have found myself explaining something quite simple, yet incredibly important. Understanding emotions does not make someone weaker. In fact, it makes them wiser. When people begin to recognize what they are feeling and why they are feeling it, they start responding to situations with a far more clarity and confidence. And that awareness begins with something called self-awareness. Self-awareness is the first and most important part of emotional intelligence. It simply means recognizing what you're feeling while it is happening, not after the situation has ended, but in the moment itself. It is the ability to notice when frustration begins to rise during a conversation, or when feedback makes you feel defensive, or when stress quietly starts building during a demanding day. Many people move through situations reacting automatically without ever pausing to understand what they're feeling. When emotions go unnoticed, they begin influencing behavior without us even realizing it. Self-awareness changes that. It brings those emotional signals into focus, and once you recognize what you are feeling, you gain something incredibly valuable. You gain the ability to pause. And that pause creates choice. The next part of emotional intelligence is self-management. Once you recognize emotions, the next step is learning how to respond to them wisely. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending they do not exist. Emotions are part of being human and they will always appear naturally. Self-management simply means deciding how you want to respond rather than reacting immediately. Imagine someone criticizes your work during a meeting. The instinctive reaction might be to defend yourself quickly. That reaction is perfectly normal. Emotional intelligence does not remove that instinct. What it does is create a moment where you can pause and consider how you want to respond. Do you react emotionally or do you respond with clarity? In leadership roles, this ability becomes extremely important because people observe not only what leaders say, but also how they behave emotionally when situations become challenging. A calm and thoughtful response can completely change the tone of a conversation. The third element of emotional intelligence involves understanding the emotions of others, something often referred to as social awareness. This is where our attention moves beyond ourselves and towards the people around us. Social awareness involves empathy, careful listening, and the ability to notice emotional signals in conversations. Tone of voice, body language, hesitation, enthusiasm. All of these communicate something about how a person might be feeling. When you work with people across cultures and generations, this skill becomes incredibly valuable. It allows you to understand perspectives that may be very different from your own and respond in ways that build understanding rather than tension. And finally, we come to relationship management, which is where emotional intelligence becomes visible in everyday interactions. This includes communication, conflict resolution, building trust, and navigating conversations that may be uncomfortable or emotionally charged. When emotional intelligence is strong, disagreements become discussions rather than arguments. Feedback becomes constructive rather than personal. Conversations become more respectful and productive. Leadership is about creating an environment where people feel understood, respected, and motivated to contribute. The interesting part about emotional intelligence is that it does not require dramatic change. Most improvements begin with very small shifts in awareness, pausing before reacting, listening more carefully during conversations, reflecting on emotional triggers, observing how others respond to different situations. These small habits gradually strengthen emotional awareness. And over time, they begin to influence the way we think, communicate, and lead. Perhaps the most powerful insight about emotional intelligence is this. Emotions themselves are automatic. They appear quickly, often before logic has had time to catch up. But awareness creates space. And inside that space, we gain something very important: the ability to choose how we respond. Instead of reacting automatically, we begin responding consciously. And that shift can transform the quality of our conversations, our decisions, and our relationships. So the next time you notice a strong emotional reaction rising in a situation, pause for a moment and ask yourself one simple question. What exactly am I feeling right now? And that moment of awareness may seem small, but it is often where emotional intelligence truly begins. If this conversation resonated with you, I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts. What emotion do you personally find hardest to manage in everyday situations? Is it frustration, impatience, or perhaps overthinking? Share your thoughts in the comments below. These conversations often become some of the most meaningful discussions in this community. And if you found this video helpful, please do support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with someone who might benefit from this conversation. and subscribing so you do not miss future discussions on leadership, personal growth, and living a more inspirited life. Because emotions will always be part of life. But when we begin to understand them, something powerful happens. They stop controlling our reactions and start guiding our decisions. Until next time, take a moment to pause, reflect, and continue discovering your own inspirited path. Discover, grow, thrive. See you soon. Bye.